Hi, welcome back everyone. Today we're going to continue the flight attendant training topics. Today I've jotted down just a few things that I went through on my notebook to find out or to let you guys know exactly some of the things that I studied that first week of school. Now again, guys, remember that these are company specifics. I am not giving away any trade secrets, but all of the subjects are pretty much universal to the airline industry. So stay tuned if you want to find out what you may be learning when you go to training. Stay tuned. Okay, so again, I have my little trusty notebook. And again, these are just a few things that I jotted down. I have a whole lot more things that I want to talk to you guys about, but obviously I don't want to make the video too long. So keep in mind, I learned a lot of these things the very first week of training, and that was a 5-week training course. So one of the things that you'll be learning about is about your specific aircrafts and pre-flighting the emergency equipment on each one of those airplanes. Now, for me, for example, we have several aircrafts for my company, and just one of them that I had to learn had over 50 different items of medical emergency or things that we need to look for when we are pre-flighting. So that is just an example of one aircraft and how many things it is that we're all looking for when we do a pre-flight. Again, all these tasks are always divided between all of the flight attendants. Everybody has a job to do and certain things that they need to pre-flight, but all in all, one aircraft alone has over 50 different items that we need to look for. So depending on your airline and who you get hired by, multiply that by however many different aircrafts they have. Obviously, the emergency equipment is probably going to be the same or different models, but very similar. So, it's going to get easier. Don't let that deter you guys. All right. So another one, or another thing that we have to learn is not only just all of the emergency equipment for us on the cabin, but also we need to learn all the emergency equipment that's in the cockpit, just in case. You never know. We may need to be in there one day and need to know where certain things are. So you'll not only be learning the cockpit stuff, but you'll also be learning the cabin. Another thing that we had to learn, and we did this in week 1, was also about federal air regulations. Now, these are rules and regulations set forth by the government that they pretty much regulate the airline industry, and they have a certain say about how things are done. So I just jotted a couple of little items that I thought were, good to mention. Like, for example, they can regulate how long a flight attendant can fly or a pilot can fly. So sometimes, I don't know if you've noticed in my other videos that I've mentioned that if a flight attendant times out, which is what that means, it's a federal air regulation, it means that you can only fly for a certain amount of hours because then fatigue sits in. Same thing for the pilots. And that's one thing that when you have delays, for whatever reason, sometimes the company might decide, well, if we let that flight attendant finish out their whole flight for the day, or, whatever you're supposed to be doing for that day, taking into account whatever delay may be happening, it's going to put you into a position where you're working too many hours, you're going to be fatigued, and so then, crew services might call and say, hey, you guys can go home. They'll still, take care of you for that flight, so you're not going to lose any flight time. And they'll call in other reserves, and that's why reserves are very important, because sometimes crews can be on a day that's so long and they'll need some rest, so they'll send you home and then have somebody else finish your trip for you. So they also regulate, for example, charter flights. So if your company primarily does charters or they do a mixture of both, there's different rules for like regular flights and charter flights. And also another thing is they can regulate hazardous material, what we can take, what we cannot take, and how to handle them. And so I was looking at my notes from class, and I had jotted down some that I thought were really important, and I jotted down over 30 federal air regulations. That's not to say that there's only 30. There's a whole lot more than that, but that's what I jotted down. So that's another thing that you're going to be looking at and you're going to be learning about when you get into training is federal air regulations. Again, your company is going to let you know which ones they're going to want you to learn. But like I said, I studied over 30 of them. Also, you're going to need to know you're going to need to learn how each plane from your airline operates. So depending on how many models they have, you need to learn where all the emergency equipment is, how to operate all that equipment, how to operate the doors, what to look for, and things like that. So depending on how many airplanes or models your company has, you need to learn each aircraft specific. So, and I've heard some of the bigger airlines have tons of different models. So, that's something to think about. You also will be learning what each crew member's responsibilities are. Like I said, one of the FARs is that regulates the flight attendant, says that there must be one flight attendant working for every 50 seats on the plane. So having said that, depending on how many seats each airplane in your fleet holds will determine how many crew members will be working on that flight. Some airlines that have like humongous planes, they can have up to 12 crew members, and everybody takes turns and sleeps, and they have cabin crew like rooms where you can sleep and decompress for a little bit while the other flight attendants are taking care of the passengers, and everybody takes turns and stuff like that. But in any case, every working crew member has a job to do. So then you need to learn, okay, so what does the lead do? What does the second person do? What does the third person do? What does the fourth person do? So that's, again, something that you're going to have to learn. And so that once you're in the air, depending on what position you're assigned to that day, you know exactly what to do. And also everybody has a specific, like I said, a specific area who pre-flights what. So you have to pre-flight certain things. You have to take care of certain things. The other thing is boarding. Everybody has a specific spot that you stand in for boarding. What things are you looking for when you're boarding? What security concerns do you need to be looking for? These are things that you're going to learn as well. Next thing that I jotted down is also once you start flying, you have certain required items that you must fly with each and every single time. No matter where you're going, you must always have these items on you. So for example, you need to have your flight attendant manual, whether it's in paper form or it's in electronic form, like my iPad. You also need to have your airline badge, your uniform, and your wings. You'll need to have a wristwatch in case, to take the pulse when you're like counting somebody's heartbeat. That's what the wristwatch is for. You're going to need to have a passport. So I suggest, guys, that if you want to get into the airline industry, whether or not you've started applying or not, go ahead and apply for your passport now, because it can take up to a month and a half to even get it. Unless you do like an expedited passport, and that could take, you could probably have it within a week or so. but you'll be paying an arm and a leg to get it expedited. So apply for your passport as soon as you know that you want to travel or that you want to join the airline industry. That way, when you start your application process, you already have that on you. Let's see. That's pretty much it. Every company is going to have a little variation of that here and there. But those are some of the things that I know that will be required. You know, pen and a flashlight and your bags, all that good stuff. All right, guys. We're already at 10.5 minutes. Okay. You're also going to learn what to expect from the captain and the co-pilot, what information you have to relay to each other. So that's another thing that, you know, every day when you go to work, you have to meet up with your crew. You're also meeting up with the captain. What information is that captain supposed to give to you? And if you have any questions, how do you go about that? And let's see, we also learned that first week about lap children. Where do they sit? Where do they sit? Sorry. Where they're not supposed to sit and why not? There's certain rules and regulations regarding lap children. We also learned about prisoners and prisoner escorts and guards and armed guards and who does what and what's supposed to happen. Another thing that we don't think about are pets. Are they supposed to be in a crate? Are the emotional pets? Where are they supposed to sit? What can happen while you're on board with the animals? There's always procedures for pretty much every situation and everything that they can think of. Because trust me, guys, if it's in a book, if it's in a manual, then it's probably happened. And that's where there's rules and regulations about it. So, as a new flight attendant, these are things that as a passenger, perhaps, you have never noticed, you've never paid attention to, or you just didn't know anything special was happening. But all these things are happening behind the scenes. We're always looking for the people's safety, making sure that things are supposed to be where they're supposed to be. People are sitting where they're supposed to. Same thing with the exit seat criteria. Not everybody can sit in the exit row. Who qualifies? What makes them able to qualify for that? You'll be learning all about that and what to do in the case of if it's someone that you know that doesn't qualify for it, what to do. These are all things that you're going to be learning at some point in your training. I don't know at what point, but at some point in your training, you're going to be learning. And this is just, guys, just a little tip of the iceberg of everything and every single topic that you're going to be learning in class. Again, these are just a few things. I don't want to bombard you guys with so much information right now. So as I come up with these training videos for you guys of what to expect during training, I will continue to give you more topics of things that you'll be learning. Obviously, I'm just touching on the subjects of what things that I had to learn, and a lot of other flight attendants have had to learn. It is now up to your trainer then to teach you everything that has to do with that. And trust me, there's hours and hours and hours and hours of studying and things that you'll learn that you never even knew, had anything to do with anything. But again, thank you guys for joining me one more time. Thank you so much for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, but you're still watching my videos, thank you so much anyways. I encourage you to subscribe, guys. I'm going to continue bringing more informative videos about what to expect while you're in flight attendant training. And just to give you just an overview of what to expect. I know one of my trainers put it into these words. They said pretty much that when you go to a flight attendant training, it's like you're being fed water out of a water hose, and then all of a sudden they pull it like full blast, and all that information is just like trying to get into your head, because it is a lot of information. So, good luck, everyone. I know that it's going to be tough, but if I can give you any help to, make things a little bit easier for you so that you actually know what to expect while you're in training, not just, that, yeah, you're in training. Guys, we're not just waitresses in the sky or waiters in the sky like most people think. Everything that we learn during training is what you don't see, what's behind closed doors. Those are the things that you're going to be learning in school. You're learning to be a safety professional first and customer service second. Obviously, they're both very, very important. But again, thank you guys for tuning in one more time, and I will see you on the next one. Love you guys. Hellos to everybody that's sending me good thoughts and vibes over, my foot injury. I should be back to work in a few days. Okay, guys, bye.